The battlefield was still burning when the howl came. A sound so deep, so primal, that it shook every grain of sand in the Nile Valley. Soldiers froze mid-step, weapons falling slack in their hands. Amina's blood ran cold. Kareem whispered a prayer he hadn't spoken since childhood. Even Omar, reborn in fire, glowing with hieroglyphs carved into his flesh, felt the sound reverberate in his bones. The wolf titan had returned. From the dunes beyond Giza, the horizon shifted. Shadows stretched unnaturally. The sand itself trembled as something vast approached. And then, through the smoke and moonlight, they saw it. A colossal wolf, larger than the fire titan, its fur like steel, its eyes burning red with hunger. Each step crushed dunes into glass. Its breath steamed in the cold desert night, carrying the stench of death. The wolf titan was real, alive, stronger than ever. The soldiers panicked. Some dropped their rifles and ran toward the ruins of Cairo. Others knelt, begging to the heavens. The fire titan had nearly destroyed them. This one was worse. But Omar stepped forward. His body still glowed faintly, the fiery spear humming with power in his grip. His voice carried across the broken battlefield, cutting through the chaos. Stand. This is our soil. This is our Nile. If we fall fighting. The words burned into their hearts. Slowly, shakily, men picked up their weapons. The wolf titan threw back its head and howled again. The sound shattered windows in Cairo miles away. The ground cracked as jackals and desert wolves poured from the dunes, smaller, but still monstrous, each the size of a tank. The soldiers screamed. This wasn't just one titan. It was an army. Amina loaded her rifle and spat blood. Then we fight every last one. Kareem nodded, his jaw set. With Omar leading, we might just live long enough to die well. The first wave of wolf creatures crashed into the human line. Teeth like swords, eyes glowing. Tanks fired, tearing them apart. But more came, endless. Blood ran into the sand. Omar leapt into the fray. His spear blazed like lightning, slicing through fur and bone. Each strike shattered monsters, his body moving faster than mortal men. The hieroglyphs on his skin flared with every kill, burning brighter as if feeding on the fight itself. But even he knew, this was only the beginning. The true titan still waited, watching. The wolf titan stepped closer. Its shadow fell across the battlefield, dwarfing even the pyramids. It opened its jaws, teeth like stone pillars, and spoke. Not in words humans should understand, but every soldier heard it, deep in their minds. You burned my brother. Now I will feast on your world. Omar's grip tightened on his spear. His voice thundered back. Then you'll choke on Egypt first. The attack spread like wildfire. From the dunes, the wolf titan spawn poured toward Cairo in endless waves. Wolf creatures the size of cars, jackals with molten eyes, beasts made of smoke and sand. The soldiers at Giza fought valiantly, but it was clear. This horde wasn't meant to be stopped here. It was meant to devour the city. Cairo, the beating heart of Egypt, was about to burn. Amina turned toward the capital, her face pale under the glow of fire. If they reach Cairo, millions will die. Kareem cursed, gripping his rifle. We can't hold both. Not the battlefield and the city. The soldiers looked to Omar. Even the generals, seasoned men who had commanded armies, stood silent. The choice was his. Omar clenched his jaw. He felt the spear vibrating in his hands, alive with power, urging him toward the titan itself. But his eyes turned toward Cairo, and in that moment he saw not just buildings and people, but his childhood. The streets where he had trained, the gym where he had pushed his body to the limit, the mother who had raised him. Cairo will not fall, Omar said. Not while I breathe. With a roar, he leapt forward. His body glowed with fire as he cut through the first wave, carving a path through monsters. The soldiers followed, emboldened, pouring into trucks, tanks, and armored carriers. They turned the retreat into a charge, moving toward Cairo, with Omar at the tip of the spear. The wolf titan laughed, a rumble like an earthquake. Its army surged after them. The Nile turned red that night. Inside Cairo, chaos reigned. Families fled their homes, mosques emptied into the streets, and the army scrambled to form barricades. Helicopters lit up the sky, missiles streaking into the night, striking beasts mid-charge. But for every monster that fell, two more appeared. One of the jackals leapt into a marketplace, its jaws snapping through buildings. People screamed as rubble rained down. And then Omar landed. He crashed onto the beast's skull, spear driving through bone, the force splitting the creature in two. Blood exploded like a fountain, but he did not stop. His hands burned, his muscles strained. His heart thundered like a war drum. Every strike was a promise. Cairo would live. But the wolf titan was not idle. From the desert, it opened its maw wide. A red light began to gather in its throat, an energy so dark, so violent, it twisted the air. Even miles away, the ground shook. The titan was preparing something vast, something that could obliterate the entire city in one breath. Kareem saw it from the barricades. His eyes widened. Omar, if that thing fires, Cairo is gone. Omar knew. His chest heaved, sweat and blood dripping into the sand. He looked at the spear in his hands, the weapon forged from fire and ancient will. He only had one chance. He leapt to the rooftops, climbing higher and higher, until Cairo sprawled beneath him like a sea of frightened souls. The titan's mouth glowed brighter, ready to release destruction. And then Omar did the unthinkable. He raised the spear high, shouted a war cry that carried across the Nile, and hurled it with every ounce of strength in his being. The weapon cut through the night sky like a comet, fire trailing behind it. Soldiers, civilians, even the monsters paused to watch. The spear struck the wolf titan square in the jaw. The explosion lit the desert like sunrise. The titan reeled back, howling in rage, its attack broken. Its jaw split, blood spraying like rivers. For the first time, it stumbled. The people of Cairo screamed, not in fear, but in triumph. Omar landed back on the street, chest heaving. He had stopped the annihilation. But as the dust cleared, his heart sank. The titan was not dead. It straightened slowly, towering over the pyramids, blood dripping from its mouth. And when it opened its jaw again, it laughed. A deep, thunderous sound that promised the fight was far from over. Omar's spear, the only weapon that had wounded it, was now gone, embedded deep in the titan's skull. He was unarmed. The night sky still burned from the explosion. The wolf titan's blood stained the desert, but the monster did not fall. Instead, it advanced. Each step shook Cairo's foundations. Each howl split the air. And Omar, the man who had thrown the spear, now stood weaponless. The soldiers around him looked horrified. Some whispered in despair. Without the spear, he's just a man. But Amina shouted back, her voice cracking like a whip. No, he's Omar. He is Egypt. And Egypt does not kneel. The words lit fire in the men's chests. They raised their weapons again, aiming at the beasts that poured into the streets. Bullets tore through fur and flesh. Tanks fired from bridges across the Nile. Helicopters rained missiles onto the wolf army. Cairo had become a fortress. But it wasn't enough. Omar leapt into the fray barehanded. His fists burned with the same fire that had fueled his spear. He struck wolves the size of cars, his blows shattering bone, his roars echoing louder than theirs. Every punch was a reminder. Humanity was not fragile prey. When a wolf creature lunged at a family trapped in a collapsed alley, Omar caught its jaws with both hands, muscles straining, veins bulging, and tore its skull in two. Blood drenched him, but he did not falter. The soldiers, watching him, screamed his name. Omar, Omar, Omar. He had become more than a warrior. He was a beacon. But the wolf titan grew closer. With every step, buildings collapsed under its weight. Its army seemed endless. For every beast Omar killed, two more broke through. Sweat dripped into his eyes. His muscles screamed with exhaustion. But he did not slow. His body was breaking, but his spirit burned hotter. Then the titan roared. The sound shattered glass across Cairo. And with that roar, something terrible happened. Wolves regenerated. Corpses twitched, wounds closed, monsters rose again. The soldiers' hearts sank. This is impossible, Kareem whispered. But Omar stood tall, bloodied, but unbent. He shouted across the battlefield, voice cracking with fury. Impossible is nothing. They rise, we strike harder. They heal, we tear deeper. We are humanity, we never stop. The men roared back, their voices shaking the night. Omar charged into the beast again, this time seizing broken rebar from rubble, swinging it like a club. The metal bent in his hands, but his strength turned it into a weapon of war. Each strike cracked skulls, shattered spines. Amina fought at his side, firing until her rifle clicked empty, then using her bayonet as a blade. Kareem manned an anti-tank gun, mowing down wolves in droves. Cairo was bleeding, but Cairo was fighting. The wolf titan finally reached the city's edge. Its shadow consumed the skyline. The pyramids looked like toys beside it. It reached up, grasped Omar's spear embedded in its jaw, and ripped it free. Blood poured like rivers, but the titan only grew more enraged. With a snarl, it hurled the spear deep into the desert, so far no human eye could follow. The one weapon capable of wounding it was now lost to the sands. The soldiers' courage cracked. But Omar only clenched his fists, teeth gritted, fire still burning in his veins. He raised his voice once more. We don't need a weapon. We are the weapon. And with that, he leapt directly toward the titan's colossal leg, ready to climb the beast with his bare hands. The wolf titan's foot slammed into the desert just beyond Cairo's outskirts. Whole streets shook, windows shattered, and the Nile rippled as if in fear. The creature leaned forward, its jagged teeth gleaming with blood, its breath hot enough to make the sand smoke. But Omar did not run. He sprinted straight toward the titan's leg, every muscle in his body straining with purpose. Is he insane? A soldier gasped. No, Amina whispered, eyes blazing with pride. He's human. The titan roared, wolves pouring from its skin like living shadows. They leapt down to tear Omar apart before he could even reach it. But Omar did not slow. He grabbed the first wolf midair, twisting its neck until bones snapped, using its corpse as a bludgeon against the next. Blood rained over him, but he kept moving. When he reached the titan's massive ankle, he drove his fists into its hide. The flesh was like stone, thick and steaming, but Omar's fire burned hotter. He ripped open a foothold, slammed his fingers inside, and began to climb. Each pull was agony. The titan's skin bled molten red, burning Omar's hands, but he did not let go. His arms screamed, his lungs burned, but he climbed higher and higher. Below, Cairo watched. Soldiers, civilians, children on rooftops. Every eye followed him. Their fear turned into chants. Omar, Omar, Omar. The sound rose above the chaos, carrying across the Nile like a war song. Humanity's hope was climbing that beast. The titan shook violently, trying to dislodge him. Buildings toppled from the tremors. Wolves rained down from its shoulders, claws slashing at Omar's body as he climbed. One bit deep into his shoulder, tearing flesh. Omar roared, grabbed it by the spine, and hurled it off the titan's body. Another sank claws into his ribs, but Omar slammed it against the titan's own hide until it burst apart. Blood poured from his wounds, his skin blistered from the heat, but he kept climbing. Halfway up, the titan slammed its own body against the pyramids, trying to crush Omar. The ancient stones cracked, entire blocks sliding free. Dust and sand filled the air. But Omar refused to fall. He dug his fingers deeper, clung tighter, and roared back at the titan, a sound so raw that even the soldiers below froze in awe. For the first time in history, humanity roared louder than a titan. At last, Omar reached its waist, then its chest. The monster's heart thumped like a war drum beneath him, each beat threatening to shake him loose. The titan's head tilted, its glowing eyes narrowing. It had noticed him now. The beast growled low, voice shaking the heavens. Foolish man, you climb your own grave. Omar bared his teeth, blood dripping from his mouth. No, I climb for humanity. And he kept going. The titan raised his claws, swiping at its own body to crush the speck that dared defy it. Whole chunks of flesh tore away, spraying blood the size of rivers, but Omar dodged, leaping higher, grabbing raw muscle and bone. At last he reached the titan's shoulder, the wind howling around him, Cairo a glowing sea of fire far below. He stood, chest heaving, staring at the monster's colossal head. He was face to face with the wolf titan, and he was unarmed. The night air was razor sharp as Omar stood on the wolf titan's shoulder. Cairo burned below. The Nile glimmered with fire. Soldiers fought in the streets, holding back endless wolves. But here, above the chaos, only one fight mattered. Man versus titan. The wolf titan turned its massive head toward Omar. Its breath blasted hot across his body, carrying the stink of blood and rot. Its eyes glowed like suns, red and merciless. "You are nothing," the titan growled, voice shaking the sky. "One man cannot stop me." Omar's chest heaved, his body drenched in blood and ash, skin carved with glowing hieroglyphs that pulsed with every heartbeat. He raised his fists and shouted back, voice ripping through the storm. "One man is enough when he fights for all of humanity." The titan roared, jaws opening wide. It snapped at him, teeth bigger than towers. Omar leapt onto its snout, fists blazing with fire. He drove a punch into its eye with all his strength. The ground below shook as the titan reeled back, its howl deafening. Blood gushed like rivers, but the beast didn't fall. It thrashed violently, trying to shake him off. Omar clung to its fur, every muscle screaming. Wolves poured from the titan's back, swarming him. Their claws ripped his flesh. Their teeth tore into his arms. But Omar fought them barehanded, breaking bones, snapping spines, throwing them into the abyss below. Every strike was fueled by more than muscle. It was rage, love, survival. It was humanity itself. Below, soldiers saw him and roared louder. Anti-aircraft guns and rocket launchers turned upward, targeting the titan. Explosions lit the night sky. Cairo had joined Omar's climb. They were fighting with him. Kareem, bloodied but unbroken, yelled over the comms. "Pour everything into that monster. Don't stop until Omar brings it down." Amina fired an RPG into the titan's ribs, flames ripping its flesh. Tanks thundered from bridges, striking its legs. The city itself had risen as Omar's army. On the titan's skull, Omar was a storm. He fought his way higher, ignoring wounds that would kill any other man. Blood blinded his eye, ribs cracked with each breath, but his fist struck harder, faster. Finally, he reached the top of its head. The beast snarled, shaking violently, trying to fling him into the void. But Omar dropped to his knees, pressing both hands against the titan's skull. The hieroglyphs on his body flared, brighter than ever before. The fire spear was gone, but the fire had never left him. With a roar that split the heavens, Omar unleashed everything. Flames poured from his fists into the titan's skull. The monster screamed, its voice a storm of agony. The fire spread, veins of molten light racing through its body. Below, soldiers stopped fighting for a moment. They watched as the colossal wolf began to glow, cracks of fire splitting its hide, light pouring out. It was dying from the inside out. The titan thrashed one last time, trying to crush Omar, but he held fast. His roar drowned out its howl. His fire burned brighter, hotter, until the night sky turned into day. And then, the wolf titan exploded. A wave of fire ripped across the desert, flattening dunes, toppling wolves, shaking the pyramids to their core. Cairo's skyline lit up brighter than the sun. Soldiers shielded their eyes, but they did not run, because in that fire they knew they had seen a man bring down a god. When the flames cleared, the wolf titan's corpse collapsed into the desert, its bones larger than pyramids, its body smoking. Silence spread across Cairo. And there, standing on the ruin of its skull, covered in blood, ash, and fire, was Omar. He raised his fists to the sky, and Cairo roared,